What's going on, guys? Thursday, October 23rd, 12:07. I'm actually running a little late, so my apologies. Totally my fault, but I gotta actually, I have something that's absolutely random and not related to photography, but I'll ask you the question anyway. So here's the thing, and I'm super, super curious. Traffic lights, okay? Are you guys ready for a random question, random trivia of the day? Traffic lights. Depending on where you are, I guess, depends. When you're at the traffic light and it's red light, can you turn right? And I think for most states, the answer is yes. And I actually, I was running late today. I was talking to sheriff's deputy. Depending on where you are in the U.S., it'll be different. You know, cop, officer, whatever. But I was asking him because in Florida they have the sign of like it's not just red light, but it's a blacked out light with a red arrow, and I never knew what I should be doing with that animal. Like, is it okay to go right on that light, or is that like a stop? I know sometimes people behind me beep or whatever, but according to him at least, the answer was that you cannot. When that red light is illuminated, or if there's any additional signs illuminated saying no right, I mean, obviously. But the difference between red light and the light where you have a red arrow, one you can go right, the other one you cannot. So in the comments, you can let me know how you feel about it, how it is in your state. Let me know where you're from and if that's any different. But I learned something new today. But back to our stuff, back to photography. Why am I here today? For those of you that already know, Marcin here. 17 years of photography, did a bunch of stuff, and every week on Thursday at 12, I go and I share pieces of information. They're kind of all over the map. So if you're like starting the photography business, if you want to monetize your camera, depending on where you are, some of you may be just getting a camera, some of you may be thinking about getting a camera, some of you may already have a camera, maybe did a shoot or two, and like it's all about how do we connect the camera to dollar bills? How can we monetize it as fast as possible? And make as much as possible. So that's really what I'm doing. That's the challenge. Today, I wanted to talk to you guys about leads. And I will be honest with you 100%. When somebody, probably 5 years into the business, if not longer, if somebody mentioned leads, I had no idea what they were talking about. Like I don't know. I'm that simple. I'm that stupid. I didn't know that leads were clients, your future clients. And also the other term that we need to sort of explain, debunk, or however you think about it, is the pipeline, which is basically, I guess it's a sales term, maybe. Maybe it's a business term. I don't think I've ever seen it in the business book, but the pipeline, I think it's more of a sales thing, is where you basically, how do you build a line of clients that are sort of lining up and waiting to buy from you. Not everybody is immediately ready to buy, and that's not to say they will never buy. It's just sometimes, there's like a small group of clients that are ready to buy immediately. There's very large group of people that will buy at some point, and there is also a group of clients that will never buy from you. So that's something that could be also, an epiphany for you guys. So those two things I struggle with, like legals and pipeline. And over time, I learned that it's like, oh, you actually have to do stuff to make sure that you're lining up these people and you give them enough time so that they buy from you. And this is exactly what I wanted to talk to you guys about next. Last time, I think we've covered website building. I did like 2 episodes. One was about like why the website, or when you should be considering the website. The second part of it was actually building the website. If you're looking for those episodes, they're still under lives. So if you're watching on YouTube, check out the lives section tab. If you're watching me in the Facebook group, go under guides, or it should be somewhere in the feed, and you will find that information in there. Today we're talking about leads, and I was actually, as I was thinking about this subject, I'm gonna kind of riff today more than I do have slides for you guys, but I just want to sort of speak from the heart. when I was thinking about leads, it's not a complicated subject, but like there's many components. So we almost have to start at the high level. I have to give you an oversight of like, hey, there's like 4 things you need to consider. And then we almost have to dedicate like one episode to break those apart, because each one of them requires different, maybe skill set, maybe approach. It's just different. Like we can't talk about all 4 methods today. So today we're talking high level. What are the ways to bring leads into your business? This is, by the way, not just photography. This is any business. So I figured today is really part 1, and then I should follow up and probably do additional episodes on each of those methods individually. So this is just to set expectation. Before we get going, I always give like a quick intro for those of you that you guys, for anybody that's here for the first time. I'm actually running this live through the Facebook group and the YouTube channel. And just let me flash something in front of you. Depending on where you're watching, QR code may be easier. You guys can scan the code and get to my world. So that's going to be either I'm establishing a school community right now, so that's going to be one link, and the other link, I believe it leads to the YouTube channel. So, and there may be a link for a Facebook group. You can definitely check it out. So that's definitely number 1, and then 2. This is the link to the school community. Like I said, all the videos are going to be pumped there. I'm in the process of like building sort of micro lessons on each subject. So right now it's all free, it's all open, it's a fair game as I'm building. You guys are invited, so please consider it if you would like. And there's going to be a whole community with people, with courses, everything. You'll see it when you get there. But this is work in progress right now. So just those 2 maintenance things out of the way. And probably one more thing that I wanted to throw in is comments. So if you're watching on Facebook or YouTube, if there's a question, if there's anything, try to throw a comment in, because number 1, gives me an option to answer your question here live as I'm talking, or I can look later if I don't get to it for whatever reason. And that's always like a good ammunition for the next episode, because I can go back and just grab from the inventory of questions and just address them here with you guys in the next section. So that's always super helpful. So that would be awesome. With that being said, we are talking about leads, and I already kind of started. Let me see if I can throw some slides for you guys here. By the way, I didn't check my screen before, so this may be blank, like it is. And let me point to the correct window here, and I believe we need to look at this. All right, cool. So we have the slideshow, the core 4 methods to generate photography leads. Like I said, it's really for any business. Build a sustainable sales pipeline through proven, consistent strategies that keep your business growing. That little pipe over there, it's should represent the leads. And as you guys can see, this is kind of the high level. At the very beginning, you have the lead generation process. We'll talk about those in detail later. And then you have lead qualifications. Depending on where you are with your business, you may be just taking anybody that knocks on a door. But if you're scaling your business, maybe you do have some clients already. You're gonna need to qualify your leads. So that usually happens with like a form, or you basically apply some friction either on your website to kind of almost, this is not gonna probably sound too intuitive, but you apply a little bit of friction. You basically make it a little harder for the client to reach out to you. This is only for those of you that maybe already have leads coming in, and some of them, like, let's say, you're spending time hopping on calls with maybe 10 leads or 20, right, every week. And that may be overwhelming, right, depending on kind of where you are with your business and what you're doing. But like, lead qualification is when you're introducing the form or putting a process in place. Maybe having your leads talk to like an appointment setter, Maybe have them go through like a Calendly, meeting setup thing where they actually have to click some buttons. People kind of hate that stuff. We all love convenience. So lead qualification is like when you're adding information into your process, so that when they go through this process, that those are the people that really care, that are really interested in what you have to offer, and not just some freebie price shoppers or whatever. So that's really what we're talking about there. And then you initiate contact. This is, after you get, let's say it's a form or something that they have to fill out, then you initiate contact. So you either DM them, send them a message, send them a text, send them an email, whatever process you may have in place. And then you schedule a meeting. Sometimes that friction that I've talked about is like having them go through the form. So they may already have a meeting, like a Zoom call or something. But also, it's always nice to reach out so they can hear your voice. I know, it's not unheard of for some folks to do to have some sort of like a protocol where they would reach out to folks within like 24-hour window or something. I mean, that just, you can't beat that. Like, reaching out within 24 hours, like actual owner of the business, think about it. Like, it just shows that they care probably a lot, right? So scheduling a meeting, and then you get into some sort of a consultation, phone call, whatever you do, and then you close the deal. So they enter the pipeline, and in the end, it's a sale. And throughout this process, this may not be a great representation, but throughout this process, your leads will actually fall off, right? So maybe they're not qualified. Things happen in life, and it's like you just got to make sure that you stay present, in their life, so that when that option resurfaces for them, they remember about you. So we'll talk about those methods. How do we do it? When do we do it? As I go through the slides. And what else do I need to cover here from like the generic standpoint? I already kind of mentioned, but I'll say it again. Just remember that when you are in somebody's world, and you pop on a radar and they consider you as an option, for some of your clients, it may actually take a while to make this step to like reach out to you, or to actually buy, or seriously consider you to like show up for a consultation or something. So the key is patience, right? It's only, I think statistically, whatever the number is, depending on the source that you're looking at, you're going to hear about like 3% but I think it's like between 3 to 5%. Those are the folks that are ready to buy immediately. So very often the mistake we make as business owners, not just photographers, is that we assume that we almost have to like convince somebody to buy. And that's definitely not something I'm teaching. Definitely not something you guys have to do. You should never be convincing. Like, what's the difference between convincing somebody and like persuading them to buy? One is where convincing is where they don't want to buy, and we almost have to convince them. This is very often how we think about like sales process and script. Like, what do I have to say for them to buy? It's like, leave them alone. If they don't want to buy, they're not good client for you. They're not going to be a walking billboard after they're done with you. Persuasion, on the other end, is like when they want to buy and they're considering you as one of the options, and you basically then just kind of help them understand. You help them understand if you're a good fit, if your product is a good fit for whatever pain they're having, whatever problem they're having. Like, you're basically helping them understand if you're a good solution. So that's really the difference between convincing, persuading them to do it. And today I basically just wanted to go through. And if you guys think about it, most of us out there, this slide here that let me just go through it very quickly, but it's basically covers what I said. The reality is leads don't just appear. Here's the truth. People don't just show up because you have something to sell. You need a pipeline, a consistent system that will always bring new people into your world. Some prospects convert quickly, others take weeks or months to make a decision. Your job is to keep the flow going, so you always have opportunities in the motion. So this is just kind of the formal language around what I said, but the one truth here at the top is it's exactly that. It's like you may have the greatest product, the best solution for your clients, and you have to remember, like, just because you have, just because you have it, people are not just gonna show up. So it's like the process of, some people call it marketing, some people call it advertising. It's this process of letting people know that you have this offer. And it's like, how can we do it? And for most of us, what I was getting at is, most of us are at the very beginning, at least, single entrepreneurs. It's just one person, you're handling a lot, right? So it's a little overwhelming. But if you're just one person, if you don't have a team, if you don't have other people to help you, you really have 4 sort of core main options that you can utilize. And these are the options. I listed them on the slideshow. Friends and network. This is usually where everybody starts, right? Like, we just let people know that are in the surroundings, right? Whether it's family, friends, the network of people that we normally deal with. Cold reach outs, we'll talk about that. And then paid advertising, just, ads for short, and content marketing. So what is the difference between the 4? So when you're a single person, when you're talking about, there's only 2 ways you can sort of broadcast your message. One way is one-on-one broadcasting, when you talk to another person. And the other way that you can communicate your message, tell them about your offer, is one-to-many, right? Think of like standing on stage and talking to 100 people, right? So one way, the friends and network, that's usually when you're talking to, somebody it's usually a text message, could be an email, could be a conversation, but mostly it's leveraging your existing relationship to create warm introductions and referrals. And this is when you reach out. I always, tell like my students that the very first thing that you can do is, like, most of us probably have a good number of contacts in your phone already, right? It's probably around, 150 to 200 contacts maybe. And the very first thing you can do, same with Facebook. Excuse me for a second. All right, back to you guys. Sorry. Problem with sinuses. The very first thing is basically grab the contact list from your Facebook, grab the contact list from your phone, and just reach out, right? And I always have this trick down my sleeve where, I always say, don't immediately put somebody on the spot and say, hey, this is what I have, would you like to buy from me? That's what most of us would typically do. That's what I ended up doing at the very beginning, because I didn't know any other way of handling this. So normally we would just reach out and ask them, put them on the spot. People are kind of get uncomfortable. They don't know what to say. They try to say yes, but they know internally it's a no or maybe. So I kind of have changed that, and now what I do is I recommend everybody just reaches out and basically says, hey, just switch the question and say, hey, do you know of anybody that may be interested in what I'm doing? And just tell them what you're doing. This way, you're not putting anybody on the spot. They feel comfortable. Very often, what you're going to see is not only they may know somebody that's interested, but also they'll, if they like the offer, they'll immediately stop you and say, oh, hold on a second. Like, yeah, I do know some people. Like, what about me? Can I use that? So for somebody that's starting, or maybe you're early in the process of building the business, maybe you have your offer that's discounted, maybe it's free. But the thing is, you can ask, and in one shot, you can kill 2 birds, because you may get the person that you're talking to plus their friend, right, or friends. So those are just the reach outs we do. Go through your Facebook list, go through your phone list, and you can just send out a message. And it's going to take a while, right? And you, of course, have to be okay with people knowing that you're doing what you're doing, because a lot of times it's that fear of, like, we know that we have the offer, we know it works, we know how good it is, but like we constantly stop ourselves with, it's this internal fear of failure. Like, we don't almost want to reach out because we think they're going to say no. But it's like, you got to be okay with hearing no. A lot of times, actually, right? Because it will all come down to numbers. If you, for example, reach out to 100 people, expect only 20% to be interested, or 30% to be interested. It's not abnormal for 60 or 70% of people to ghost you. So, like, as long as you guys get it through your head, expect the no. But then if you get a yes, get excited, instead of expecting yes every time and then thinking that you're failing, which you're really not failing. It's just, that's just how market works. This is just Those numbers are just statistics. That's just what it is. So once you understand it, it's like, oh, I sent 100 reach outs and only 20 people responded. Like, I want you to know that this is absolutely okay. So friends and network, that's your first go-to. It's the easiest, it's the quickest. You can just grab both lists and just go hard. Don't overwork yourself. I'll say, you know, pick a number. Maybe it's 10 reach outs a day and just be consistent. It's better to do 10 every day or 5 every day than try to do 100 and then not do it for 3 weeks. So just something to keep in mind. And then you have called another option there is called reach outs. So before we were just talking to the people that we know, friends, family, maybe people that we network with, people that you run into on a daily basis. But then you have cold reach outs. So what are cold reach outs? I mean, you can do it both ways. You can do it as I don't know, if you're on Facebook, you can start DMing people, right? If you're on part of like an online community forum, you can reach out to people there. But you can it's kind of like door knocking, right? And then again, the numbers, same thing. It's probably even less, right? So on 100 people you reach out to, you may only get 10 people that respond to you, right? So you guys will see this pattern that it's like, just get used to the fact that you're going to hear no a lot. People are going to ghost, and just make sure that your number, that you focus on the 10%, 15% of your conversions, meaning people that are actually getting into a conversation with you. And this should be your metric, not everybody that you're reaching out to. That's very, very important, because you're going to get, demotivated very quickly if you're thinking everybody will be getting into a conversation with you. So cold reach outs, connect directly with potential clients where they already spend time. That's very, very critical. So one way to do it, which is, on one there's a spectrum of like, where do you find these people? So like on one side of the spectrum, you can just go out and talk to anybody you run into on the street, right? And this is not uncommon practice for, let's say, roofing company, or somebody is installing windows, and then you get the guy walking around the neighborhood knocking on doors, usually mentioning somebody's name and like, hey, we're doing work in the neighborhood, would you be interested in doing windows or doing doors or doing whatever? So you guys know the spiel. It probably somebody has been knocking on your door before. So this is kind of what they do. This is the cold reach out. This is just kind of and it takes a lot of guts to do that, because you're approaching strangers, and in that case, you're not trying to have a different conversation with everybody. These guys already have scripts in place. When they come, they usually start you off on some sort of a subject, and they usually, like, I just had a guy here from that I guess there was a company next door installing solar panels. So first thing he came in, he started asking questions about how unhappy I am with electricity energy going up, because that's they tap into this fear. They just don't want to show up and give you the offer. Like, nobody does that. They try to tap into the fear. They tell you a little story. They tell you that your neighbor is doing it, and then they continue with the script, and then they try to figure out if you're interested in the conversation, further conversation. But cold reach outs online, you guys can absolutely do it. The best way to do it is, like, if you're dealing with cold leads, people that have never dealt with you, you definitely don't want to just reach out to random people in random places. You want to make sure that, like, for me, for photography, the way I originally started, it's like you can go to online communities where brides hang out and get advice on, like, vendors and just general wedding advice. And basically, it's not a cold reach out where you would just start pinging people and starting conversations. Usually it's answering the questions that, like, brides may have or clients may have, whether it's corporate clients, forum or Facebook group where, like, people are looking for photographers to do their family pictures. And you basically show up in the group, and instead of just spamming people, you always try to provide value, right? So you reach out to them, not to them immediately. You basically try to help them by answering questions, and eventually those that you help, quote unquote, those that you have tackled with answers, then you can reach out, start the conversation, and because it's this reciprocity thing with them, like, oh, somebody like this guy already has helped me out with answering questions. They're the chances of them getting into a conversation with you just dramatically increase, because it's reciprocity. This is how we act as human beings, right? So if you've helped them, I'm sure they're going to take time, a minute, 2 or 3, to talk to you about your offer, things, things that you would like to reach out with. So that's just those are the cold reach outs. You can DM people in groups, in online communities, and the more you sort of narrow your search, the better groups you can find. Usually smaller groups with, you guys probably hear the word niche a lot, but like if I had to choose between a group for photographers where there's just people interested in photography, this is people that are interested in wedding photography. If I'm doing wedding photography, I obviously would prefer to go into the community where they just talk wedding photography and help these guys along. So that increases your chances of talking to people that are actually interested in what you have to offer. All right, so cold reach outs we've covered. So this is all one-on-one interactions where you guys talk to either a person that you know or a person that you don't know. So now same thing happens, it's just at scale. And what do I mean by that? It's basically the concept of, so if you're reaching out to a lot of people, it's gonna cost you, and it's gonna cost you in one of two ways usually. One is you're gonna have to pay because it's advertising, or you're gonna have to spend some time creating content, and it's entirely up to you where you are. There's no right or wrong. It's just, I always say, do not consider ads until maybe you try some content, and there's a reason for it. And the reason is, you actually have to try with content what works, what people resonate with, what people respond to, where do they get engaged in conversations. Because if you're going to go the ads route and start running ads, and those are just random things you've never tested, or you have no idea how it will land with your potential clients, you're risking there is a risk of basically burning through your cash, because you're basically testing at scale, using your dollars, right? So before you do that, you probably want to do the same method with content a little bit. This way you see what resonates with people, and then you can basically reuse the same content for your ads and just kind of go that route. Again, I'm not going deep into ads or content creation or identity or how to do it or how to test it today. We're just talking about high level, what are those methods? And like I said, if you joined later, I did mention that I will be creating like an episode dedicated to each of those. And that's really what I wanted to talk about here. So between paid and content, always better to test with content first and then go into paid advertising. Obviously, paid advertising, again, I said it before, I'll say it again. When the common mistake that people make is they think that advertising on social media especially almost works like a billboard, that they'll just put out a sign that says, hey, here's my offer, go and buy. Again, definitely not a way to do it. And the reason for why we shouldn't be doing this way is because there's, like I said before, there's between 3% or 5% of people that buy on that day, the day when they see the ad. And usually because you're testing on a small scale, because you're not spending a lot on your ads, there's a saying that those that spend on their clients the most always win. So if there's somebody around that's offering the same thing, let's for photographers, obviously, because I am a photographer, but like same thing, if you're a roofer, if you offer, I don't know, you maybe do custom cakes, or there's always somebody that will be running ads and spending more per client. And chances of them getting to that person that wants to buy they'll probably get there quicker if they're spending more, if somebody's there already established. So that's why a lot of times you guys hear that like people talk about ads and like, oh, it's not working. It is working. It's just somebody else is winning. So I want you to understand that, and that's super super important. And to work around it again, we will have a separate episode, and I know it's kind of hard not to kind of spill the beans with you guys, but if you're considering ads at some point, like, you should be testing them. There's actually a special method with campaigns where you can actually test your stuff before you start dropping serious money on your ads. If somebody, I ask this question, it's probably number one question that I get is like, how much are ads? Like, what should I expect to pay in ads? And I can just tell you, it's not uncommon to test with about $300 to $400 a month. This is when you're testing your ads, and then for the winners, the ones that are working, once you have everything established, again, there's a process behind that. Then you can just kind of eliminate the ones that are not working, focus on, double down on the ones that are working, and budget is usually the same. You can even increase it if you see a lot of traction with one of the ads that you're running, maybe 1 out of 5. Then you can increase it and then just scale it from there, because after a while you're essentially printing money if it's tested correctly. So paid ads, I'm just going to stop there. And content marketing, again, like I said, ads should be on the bottom of your list. First, you should be tackling friends and network, then probably cold reach outs or content marketing. There's going to be a camp of people that would hate cold reach outs, because they just hate this interaction of like reaching out to strangers. I get it. I think I'm personally in that camp where I prefer to run maybe more content, but then remember, money is behind conversations and actually talking to people. People are the ones holding money that you're after. So you have to get into conversations either way. And then for content marketing, which I'm talking about here sort of last, but like I said, it's probably number 3 or 2 depending on your preferences. You have to be visible. Creating content is just about identity, making sure that you're consistent. You're leveraging one of your like Facebook business pages. You can use your Instagram, you can use your TikTok, and you don't have to be on all platforms. I always have an advice for all the students: start with one platform for 1 year. And I know you guys are going to be constantly looking out there, comparing yourself to other photographers. Like, yeah, this guy is on Facebook and YouTube and whatever, Instagram. And you'll notice, like, for me personally, I can tell you, Instagram, not a lot of success. Like, it's out there. When people ask, like, yeah, it's out there. You can go and check it out. For me personally, YouTube and Facebook are the places where I focus most of my attention on, just because people are on Facebook, and YouTube, it lives forever. With Facebook, is a little different, 2 different platforms. That brings me to a good point. I should probably do like a comparison between the platforms, because very often people think they don't, a lot of folks are confused, is like, why are those platforms there? And this is when we need to talk about like funnels. And, one platform may be more about like increasing awareness and letting people know you exist, where another platform is more dedicated for like nurturing the client. So like, now they found out, maybe they saw like your TikTok reel or something, and that reel got them to your Facebook profile. And Facebook profile is where you like nurture that relationship. You help them out. You basically show them who you are, right? That's why when I run those lives, I do it on Facebook, I do it on YouTube, and just this way you guys can know me. You can ask me questions. Speaking of which, if you're on Facebook or YouTube, leave a comment or question. This way I can address your specific problems. But like, yeah, those platforms are there for different reasons. And then they let's use Facebook as an example. Like in my case, people can actually land on your platform and stay with you long enough so that you can convert them over, and they can eventually buy from you. So those are the 4 methods. I really got deep. I know the next slides, because I basically talked about each and every single method like on one slide, but let's just recap here and make sure we have covered everything. So method 1, friends and network. Let's just review. Maybe you've joined later, so let's just review. Reach out casually, send a friendly message to people in your network. Keep it light and genuine. Ask if they know anyone. This removes the pressure from them directly. Do you know anyone who might be interested in magic? Is magic? Like I said, don't put them on a spot. Ask if there's anybody that they know or would like to recommend to you. That usually opens the door to conversation, and people, You talk to them, and then they book, or they send somebody that will book. Watch what happens. Often they end up interested themselves. Even if not, you get a valuable referral. So it works either way. And like I said, your phone contacts, your Facebook contacts, wherever you have people, maybe on Instagram, if you have a list of people to follow you, same thing, 10 a day or 5 a day or 20 a day, and just keep going for like good month, 2 months, 3 months. A lot of times people think that it's like they're just going to send one message and people are, there's going to be a herd of people chasing your offer. That's not true. So make sure you're consistent. It's always better to be consistent over, people always ask how many times a day or how many times a week. It's like, if you think it's about what's sustainable for a longer period of time. So if you're thinking about like 3 months or 4 months or 5 months, do it once a week if that's sustainable. Because if you're going to go 7 times a week for a week, that's not something you want to do. So that's just a warning for you guys. Always more consistent over a longer period of time, rather than go super heavy at the very beginning. The second one here, let's look at the second one, review this one, cold reach outs. The strategy, find where your ideal clients hang out, like I mentioned before, whether it's like LinkedIn, Facebook group, industry forums, local networking events. I didn't mention that, but like if there are local events, and I can tell you for like I'll use from the photography side, if there is corporate events, sometimes networking events, you can go to those and just pass your business cards, as a photographer, not offering the service, but basically just having a conversation. Here's my business card. Maybe your business needs somebody, maybe you need some photos or whatever. You do some headshots for a corporate client. Maybe it's a local small business thing. How they have the local, what is it called? The skip my mind. The commerce thing. You guys know what I'm talking about. You can go to one of those events and say, hey, usually there are people starting their businesses. They're looking for photographers to either take pictures of the product or the team or the business itself. So those networking events are also important. Start conversations by providing genuine value, share insights, answer questions, or other helpful resources without expecting anything in return. Over time, that's why I'm always saying it's 3, 4, 5 months, because you guys will build this sort of value behind your name. And one thing here that says answer questions, there's actually a book. If you're into books, I would highly recommend. There's a book called They Ask You Answer. And there's also another book, I think it's called Content. It's here somewhere. I should probably list it in the comments later. But basically, it gives you some pointers on like, when you create content, what is the content about? But the content should really be, people buy from people that they know, like, and trust. And the only way to do it is to share kind of your stuff, like behind the scenes and what you're doing, and answering their questions. People are after what a lot of times I always tell when I was doing the training on websites. It's like everybody builds their website, talks about like their location and their team and their whatever. Like people care what they care about, and they don't care about you. They care about themselves. Like if I have a problem, I don't care how your office looks like or how your team looks like. I'm curious in knowing that you can actually solve my problem, right? So I know I sound a little mean, but like you guys get the point. So when you're creating content, when you're creating your reels, when maybe you're doing your Facebook posts, always remember, try to answer questions that you think people may have. You may already have experience. You may already know. One way to find out is like when, let's say you're a wedding photographer and you're like, okay, well, what would brides potentially ask me for? Maybe you're doing this for the first time. Go to Google and start typing in the search bar, and Google will populate questions literally for you. And then in your content, try to answer them. That's the quickest way to do it. ChatGPT, Google, all places where you can find ideas. But that's very, very important. Like always think in terms of your client. Be obsessed about your client, right? About your lead. And if you do that, I guarantee you're going to be successful. And then last thing here, build trust and credibility first. Only after you've established rapport should you mention what you offer. And that's exactly what I'm talking about. Go out there, help first. You'll see people will reciprocate. And again, it's not going to be 100% of the people. So it's like, first, if you reach out to Amy, Kevin, James, and Kyle, maybe Amy and Kyle are the only one interested. So like that's normal. Please expect that. Please expect a lot of no's. And it's all math game. It's all percentage game. And then next slide was method number 3, which is paid advertising. Let's review. It's a system. It's not not instant magic. People think that they throw money in, like people just rush in through the door. That's not true. You have to understand what you're doing. We're going to have an episode dedicated to that. Ads require the right message, the right audience, and continuous testing. Don't expect overnight results. Don't waste your money. Like people create one ad, spend $80, and nobody comes in and they say advertising doesn't work. It's that your message doesn't work or you don't work. Sorry, I don't mean to offend anybody, but I'm just trying to be real. Like you really need to test some stuff, understand what you're doing, and I promise you, ads are definitely working. Otherwise, Facebook would not be, what is it, $3 trillion company, less, more, I don't know. It's crazy, right? But that's what it is. Advertising is definitely working and is doing pretty good. Results build over time. As you refine your approach and gather data, your ads become more effective and profitable. One thing to remember, even if you hit like a working ad, you'll see that ads fatigue. So people get used to your message. Like it's almost unfair, but it's like they hear the same ad, it's working, and then you guys will see like a dip. It's dipping and actually dies down. That's why it's a continuous like testing process. And like I said, I promise I will have an episode on that. More to come. Stay tuned for a dedicated deep dive session on creating ads that actually convert. See, I knew that I was going to say that, and that's why it's on this slide. But we will talk about how to do ads properly, whether it's YouTube or Facebook. It's all the same thing, by the way. And if you're on Facebook, if you're advertising on Facebook, you're already advertising on Instagram. So you get the deal. And then method number 4, content marketing. A couple things here that I want to cover again. Be consistently visible. You have to be in your client's world, like your face. I know everybody's about this, like, do I have to be on camera? And I'll be super honest with you. The answer is you don't have to be on camera. But people that are on camera will get the 20x results. So it's like, it's your call, right? If you're fine with getting less results and not being on camera, be my guest, right? I'm on the side where it's like after a while you get used to seeing your own face or hearing your own voice. Like I was uncomfortable running this thing, like doing a live and knowing that there are people watching, like, oh my God. And then you just kind of get used to it. It becomes almost like a habit, right? Second nature thing. And yeah, showing your face from time to time, it's better. It's better. Like think about it. Like when you're dealing with the business, go to the latest transaction when like you spend $2,000 on or more, right? Like, would you rather see a logo or talk to an actual person? We bitch all the time about like calling a company and like, oh my God, it's AI. What happened? What happened to talking to real individuals? Like totally. And that's what your clients are thinking, right? When they reach out, they don't want to see a logo or your website. Best option for them is like when they talk to the owner, right? So the person responsible, like it's all about people connections and interactions. Like people deal with people. People buy from people, not from companies. So be consistently visible, show up regularly where your audience spends time. You guys know what we have talked about. Consistency beats perfection every time. Build trust over time. Content marketing isn't about instant sales. It takes time. It's about becoming a trusted expert people turn to. After a while, people just recognize you're out there. You're always helping. You're always doing stuff. That's why there's no secret. Like you guys, when I go out every week and try to just kind of preach and teach and tell people, like, it has to be consistent. So remember that's a must. And then follow a proven method. There's a systematic approach to creating content that attracts, engages, and converts. It's not just posting randomly. There's actually a method. Same way as I talk about Facebook ads. Content, there's an example. You guys can see the image. I hope you can see it well. But like, there's a couple questions here, like share repurposed content, reveal your losses, post beautiful pictures, interview with clients, offer a free download, share an event invite. I'm reading through it. Create an FAQ, ask true false questions. like looking at that list, you guys can, that there's probably like 45 items here. That's a great start. Like you can use it as a cheat sheet and start creating content around this stuff. And it's just these days everything can be automated, meaning you can schedule this ahead of time. And I always recommend to my students, like, work in batches. Don't try to work every day or whatever. Dedicate a Saturday, maybe 2 hours, get up early from 6 to 8 o'clock or whatever. If you've been partying, maybe 10 to 12, and like just knock it out, right? So create a bunch of content for like a whole month. I can tell you, when I schedule my like YouTube reels or YouTube episodes, like everything is scheduled through probably like January right now. So there's nothing I do other than come here and talk to you guys live. But all the other stuff is just running automatically. I have two daughters, 12 and 14. They both help me with like scheduling. I pay 10, 15 bucks, whatever it takes, 20 bucks, depending on what they're doing. And they will sit here and just knock it out. At the beginning, it's all you, man. It's in the build up stage, at the very beginning, it's gonna suck. There's a lot of pain. Like, if you wanna do it, right, and a lot of it. But like I always say, consistency over time. So if there's like two or three posts that you can schedule that will run automatically throughout the week. And if you can spend 2 hours on Saturday morning, knock it out, set it up for like 2 months or 3 months ahead, it's done. It's nothing you have to worry about, and you're going to feel less overwhelmed. So it's definitely a way to do it. I promise content marketing. I already did one episode on content marketing, and I talked about like identity. How do clients connect with you? So if you're not following me on YouTube, again, I'm going to quickly flash this for you guys. Let me see if you can see it. Oh, actually, I gotta switch the screens. So this is the QR code. You can go here and it'll lead you to the YouTube channel. Make sure you guys join, and there's already an episode on identity, like how do clients connect with you, because it's all psychological game. And how to create it, but I will create a separate episode on content marketing. I absolutely love content marketing. It's just the preferred method, but it's one of the 4 methods. And what else? Do we have another last slide here? Let me go back. Oh yeah, the one thing that I wanted to talk to you guys about, there's this rule of 100. Your kind of action plan. So when you're trying to like decide, this is like a simple math that I do, because people ask like, what's the intensity? Like how many? And this one is easy because you're basically committing to consistency across all 4 methods with this simple framework. And one is 100 reach outs. So it's either, we talked about warm, friends, family, or cold. You do 100 reach outs, or you start answering them. 100 hours of content, not hours. This should be minutes. Yeah, I'm not gonna add it, but it should be not 100 hours. It should be 100 minutes. A day or a week. Again, what can you make consistent? But it's 100 reach outs, 100 minutes, which is about hour and a half, let's say, every day, or hour and a half every week, or 100 reach outs every week, and then ad spend $100 every week, right? So it's probably less, but I just want to use it for like a good measure. So 100 reach outs, 100 minutes, or $100 spent a week, and this gets you to the $300-400 testing territory. Bottom line, regular consistent action is what leads to results. Pick your numbers, commit to the work, and watch the pipeline fill up. There's no way that if you guys are doing 100 reach outs a week, creating 100 minutes of content and spending, and if you combine 2 or 3, you're gonna become an absolute killer. So that's kind of the recipe. And I honestly believe this is the last slide. It was the last slide. So that was really, we have, just to recap, we have talked about the 4 methods. The one-to-one method when it's friends and family, one-to-one cold reach outs, one-to-many, which is the content creation, and one-to-many, which are ads that you guys are paying for. This was really it for today. Like I said, I will be going in and talking about each one of those individually. This was only part 1, so it sounds like we have 4 more parts to go through. If you need to reach out to me, you can leave a comment next to the recording, either on Facebook or YouTube. If you want to talk to me personally, there is a list here. You can find me on Facebook. Just send me a DM. There is a Facebook group, Instagram, like I said, and we're going to try to get X going eventually, I guess. But that was it for today. I hope that was helpful. Don't be a stranger. Reach out. The best way you can do it for me is like either share or like the content if you're watching this, or subscribe. That always means a world. For today, I just wanted to thank you. I know you guys are paying with time, so thank you so much. And I'll see you next time, next Thursday, 12 p.m. See you later. Bye.